doch einfach die Werbung mit. Und diese kostenlose Werbung trägt sogar dazu bei, dass du bei Twitch die ganze Zeit Follower verlierst. Also eine bessere Werbung könnte ich mir gar nicht vorstellen. Sie lügt gegen Ende dann übrigens auch nochmal.
Der KuchenTV und J-Riddle und so weiter übrigens die ganzen Videoclips aus meinem Stream zuschickt und die auf seinem YouTube-Kanal hochgeladen hat und sie zur Verfügung stellt, um gegen mich vorzugehen, ist übrigens ehemaliges Parteimitglied der AfD.
Das ist einfach falsch. Der Typ, von dem ich die meisten Sachen zugeschickt bekommen habe, der hat mir das auch nochmal von sich aus geschrieben, dass er nie in der AfD gewesen ist. Also auch das wieder einfach ein ausgedachter Punkt von ihr. Und selbst wenn er in der AfD gewesen ist, aber jetzt nicht mehr, hätte er ja eingesehen, dass das schlecht gewesen ist. Also was das für ein Front? Ja, also du warst früher mal in einer doofen Partei, hast dann aber selber eingesehen, dass das doof gewesen ist. Du bist ganz schön dumm. Was kann ich abschließend dazu sagen? Nicht allzu viel. Also ich bin wirklich sprachlos, keine Ahnung. Ich weiß nicht, ob Shiyoka das Ganze ernst meint oder nicht. Langsam habe ich auch das Gefühl, dass sie wirklich diese Aufmerksamkeit einfach möchte, weil sie dadurch mehr Zuschauer hat. Denn dieses ganze Framing, die ganze Negativität, die ganzen Lügen, die droppst du nicht einfach so aus Spaß, sondern keine Ahnung. Ende des Monats geht's auf jeden Fall vor Gericht bei der negativen Feststellungsklage. Mal gucken, was dabei rauskommt.
I thought there's a few topics we haven't really talked about.
Okay. And there were two.
And there were two.
What's up? How's it going?
I feel like our relationship is a little tense.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Do you feel like that too?
No, not at all. Well, I feel like you feel it, which I guess in a relationship is enough for it to feel that way, because only one person needs to feel tense. But
that's right. I thought there's a few topics we haven't really talked about.
Okay, hit me up.
Well, do you feel upset or angry at me about anything?
No.
Okay, the topics I feel like we haven't really talked about are, one, my declaration of war on the subreddit. Well, we kind of talked about it now, but is there anything you want to say about it? Anything else?
I don't fully understand the ramifications of this. Oh, I think I'm okay.
I don't think there are any. I'm just mad, and I'm gonna complain about it a lot, and
that's fair.
I think that's it.
It's a healthy response to madness.
Yeah. And I think I like I said, I don't think I'll if I post or I respond to posts, I think I'm going to be a little more guarded because it doesn't feel like a safe space for me.
It's not. Reddit's never a safe space. It's not even a safe space for me, even though I ban all the non-bootlickers. There's still enemies lurking in the shadows.
I feel like it is systemically not a safe space for me. That's what I'm saying. Okay, other topics? My ban. YouTube.
Yeah, that's pretty fucked up.
I feel like you're mad at me about it.
Mad at you about it?
Kind of.
Oh, why do you feel that?
Because I think it makes you feel horrible. I think you wish I would just be a little more like you. Or not even like you. Like, because you're kind of like me, too, in some ways. I think you just wish I would be more...
safe.
Protective. Safe, yeah.
No, not entirely. It would make your life easier, but I very much tend to play like the... Maybe you're probably not going to believe me, but I'm very much like the neutral observer, where I kind of watch people do what they do, and then I'll kind of like comment on it, and I'm like, yeah, you know, if they did this, it'd probably be easier. But ultimately, it's your prerogative to do what you want and act the way you want.
I think feeling like I'm hurting myself hurts you.
Okay.
How did you say that?
I mean, I don't agree, but I don't know if I can convince you out of that, so.
You see this shit?
Oh, cute, nice. I don't know my safe Shaylin shirt on. Safe. I I don't have my Save Shaylin shirt.
That's a very hard phrase to say.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so that's it.
Well, what do you want to talk about in relation to that? I would feel similarly about I do feel similarly about Sneeko. Like, I think he needs to moderate a little bit, and he would be immensely successful. He just needs to pick his battles better. But it's not like a thing that personally upsets me. It's just like, oh fuck, they'd probably be doing a lot better. Or it'd be easier for them if they were doing okay.
Well, you're kind of involved in my band.
Sure. But I don't know if that
Which I
meaningfully
think
changes it for me.
It doesn't make it more upsetting.
Not in a I wish you would behave differently kind of way.
I'm worried that you feel guilty.
No, it's pretty hard for me to feel guilty over something.
I know.
That's one of the things that sociopaths excel in, is never feeling guilty, so.
I think it's the same as always feeling guilty.
No, it's very, very, very rare that I feel guilty over online stuff. The limited exception probably has to do with Melina, because she catches a lot of flack without putting herself in the line of fire at all. Whereas for me or Sneeko or you, to some extent, when we jump into these arenas, we're kind of this is the battle that we're in, and this is we've accepted the rules of engagement, even if they're not fair and they suck, and this is how we go about things. When people peripheral to me get caught up, that makes me feel guilty or upset. So when Lily or Melina or Bella a long time ago, that's irritating. But for us, I think we're internet warriors, and it is what it is, even if it sucks sometimes, which it does super suck sometimes.
I'm a very sensitive warrior.
Sure. But a warrior nonetheless.
A warrior nonetheless. Somebody said that you said I need to chill the fuck out with regard to the Lex Friedman thing.
Oh, yeah.
Should we not talk about that?
You don't want to, or?
You don't? Do you not want to?
We can talk about whatever you want.
I want to talk about it.
Okay, yeah, then we can talk about it.
How do you? What do you think about that? How do you feel? What's going on?
I think that sometimes the way that you handle rejection will reflect on you on upcoming things. So by getting rejected in a really poor manner, it can hurt your future opportunities in really negative ways. A really, really, really great example of this is long time ago, I was a very, very edgy StarCraft 2 player, and I had the opportunity to cast a tournament, and then I was disallowed because there was a website, or there was a company called Gigabyte. They make PC parts, and they said they didn't want me at that event. And I wrote an article on my website titled "Fuck Gigabyte in the Ass." And my guess is that article probably kept other companies from working with me in the future. Be my guess. A long time ago, but.
You think I'm making decisions that my future self will regret?
I don't know if you'll ever regret them. You might be the type of person that, could be living in the bottom of a hole saying, at least I lived my values. And at the end of the day, we all kind of have to pick and choose our fights. This is why I don't feel guilty, or this is why it is what it is. Because for every criticism that I'm giving you now, some people would argue well, Destiny, people have criticized you the exact same way for your engagement with Kethals. What's the difference? Sure. I mean, it's kind of up to us to choose, what do we think are the important fights to fight. And for me, I have a chill. Yeah, go ahead.
If you're telling me to chill the fuck out, it sounds like you disagree with my assessment about
which fights are important. Yes.
Yeah.
Same thing, but then also it's the same thing with Sneeko too. Sneeko would probably say, no, there's a lot of bots. I'm trying to deprogram people. Every fight I take is an essential fight. I can't, for you to tell me to censor myself around some topics, those are the most important topics for me to not censor myself about. That might be what is going on in Sneeko's brain, even if he can't verbalize it. And I would disagree, but I mean, it's his choice to make, And then again, people would
I like
turn.
Sneeko.
Sure, I do too. I super like Sneeko. He's a very interesting person.
Yeah.
Even if I disagree with a lot of what he said. But I said this anyway. Great. And loud even.
Well, I don't think my ban's your fault.
Well, that's good. I didn't really either. I mean, I definitely played a part in it, but it's not my fault. I don't even know if I'd truly say it's your fault. I think it's just kind of the shitty social media environment we live in today, and the fact that it's so easily exploitable by bad faith actors like the big tech guy.
Yeah, I don't even think it's the people who's flagged me's fault, really. I think it's YouTube's fault. But I don't think it's your fault.
Okay, well.
Making sure it gets me at the bottom of the hole saying, that was my brother. At least that was my brother.
There's like a common argument I get from like bikers and stuff. I feel like I saw a comic or something, but like there's like a biker, like a guy with like an actual bicycle, like standing outside the gates of heaven, and the caption is like, "But I had the right of way." That's all.
I think that's it for things that I feel like are
That's really it? That was it?
yeah,
Oh, okay.
for things I've sensed bulging, you know, like Yellowstone, the volcano, the super volcano underneath Yellowstone, the lake, it's bulging. These are the areas where I feel the magma bulging. So I want to talk about it with you.
Oh, okay. Damn, I thought there was like a lot of shit or something.
It could have been. I mean, I don't fucking know what you're gonna say in response to all this.
Oh. Okay.
I mean, it seems like the thing we have the most overt disagreement about is the subreddit thing.
Oh, sure.
Obviously. But I don't know what else there is to say about it. Oh, I went on no jumper.
Oh yeah, how that? Did you fly down to LA for that?
No. No. We just did a
Zoom thing?
call. Yeah.
Yeah, like it went okay.
No, it was a fucking disaster.
Good kind of disaster, or like a bad kind of disaster?
It wasn't a disaster with Adam. It was a disaster with Flacco.
What was the disaster?
He called me some names.
Like a pedophile, or like a different?
Yeah. Yeah, he called me a pedophile, and I just lost my shit. I haven't. Normally I have like a kind of like, well, I totally understand. I talk about provocative topics, and I totally get. Since the ban, I've not been as patient with people, and I pretty much lost my shit. And he was like, "Oh, you're losing your shit. Look at you." I was like, "I know." And it just went on like that for a really, really long time. I was so angry.
Why do you feel like you got more angry this time? Or you said you've been more angry since your ban. Why?
Because usually I'm saying in the context of like, I have a career, I have my YouTube channel, I'm growing as a creator, so I totally understand as new people are introduced to my work, they're going to be provoked, they're going to call me names, they're going to not understand. I totally get it, you know, that's fine, I understand. But with the ban, it's like, it just feels like, it feels like the world's against me.
Sure.
It is. Google is the world, you know? Google's like controls how so many of us interact with the world. And when Google's like, you're a shitty person, you shouldn't be able to talk, it feels like God hates me, and I'm so angry. I'm so angry, and I'm so angry about the ban, and so I'm just taking it out on anybody who's like, just shut the fuck up. I just stay the fuck out of my way. And so like, yeah, this guy really tapped into it, and I just lost my shit.
Were you like screaming at him or?
Yeah.
Oh.
I would say I was yelling. I don't know if I got to screaming, and he was like, "You're shaking," and I was like, "Yeah, I know. I'm fucking enraged at you."
Okay.
He's like, "Why are you shaking, bro?" And I was like, "Cause I'm fucking mad. I just told you why I'm shaking. Like, are you trying to get me to say like pretend I'm not mad? I am mad. I'm not gonna pretend I'm not mad."
Was it better or worse than the Stardust combo? In terms of upsetting for you.
Stardust was way more upsetting. Oh yeah, that's another thing. I feel like we didn't talk about Stardust conversation. Is there any stuff you want to say about? You got something to fucking say, motherfucker?
I mean, obviously, I totally disagree with your assessment of everything, but I mean, like,
can you enlighten me about exactly what that means?
Well, I think it's the same criticisms that I generally have of you. That I feel like you insert a mind state into another person way too much, and I feel like you're sometimes just way too harsh on people.
Okay, bring it. Can you bring it to specifics?
Can I bring it to specifics? When you say to somebody that they're testing somebody, I think you should understand that that has an incredibly negative connotation. And oftentimes, the use or the invocation of the word test is a strategy to rape somebody. So when you invoke that to somebody that is explicitly saying this is a strategy they're employing to avoid getting raped, it is like maybe the worst possible thing you could say. And so I can understand somebody getting really triggered by it.
I understand that too. I mean, I think I said that to her.
Yeah, but you always say it
like
in kind of like a detached... It would kind of be like me walking up to somebody and then smacking them and being like, look at me. I understand why it hurts. I understand why you're hurting right now, okay? But you need to understand something, right? And it's like, that's what you're doing. And it's like, Jesus.
Okay. So the problem isn't that we agree that I already understand this and said it.
Okay.
Right? Like, I know that I was using the word test to explain how it feels from the perspective of the testee. Like, I feel like I'm being tested or profiled or not trusted or interrogated, whatever.
Sure.
I said to her, I know you feel like you need to do this to protect yourself. So from your point of view, it's just a boundary and like a defense mechanism or whatever, but just a normal thing for you to do to protect yourself. From the perspective of the person who's being asked to not have sex for 4 months or whatever the fuck, it starts to feel like I have to prove that I'm not a rapist, which is the longer you know somebody, the more that hurts.
Sure. But is that appropriate to bring up?
Well, I'm just trying to figure out your feedback here, because you said my assessment is wrong, but it sounds like we have the same assessment so far.
Well, the issue that I have is the appropriateness of even explaining that.
Okay.
And especially when the person is that emotionally charged over the topic. Because what we're essentially saying is that, like, I understand that you're having an extreme emotional reaction to this because you're trying to protect yourself. But I think it's more important right now that you recognize how your way of protecting yourself could hurt my feelings. it's like it seems like it's asking for an unreasonable amount of emotional consideration. It reminds me of fights where I'll get into a fight with a significant other, and they're upsetting me, and they're upset, and now they've brought their upsetness to me, and they're making me upset, and now they're telling me that I need to take care of their feelings and my feelings, and I'm like, wait a second, you got us both riled up over this, and now I have to take care of both of us? Fuck you. That's kind of what it feels like in that conversation you were essentially doing to her.
We agree that she never said she was upset.
I don't care.
Right. No, I'm not trying to...
I don't know if she ever did say she was upset or not, but like whether or not somebody says they're upset, I'm never looking at somebody.
Look, can I walk you through what I'm thinking here?
Okay, go for it.
Okay, we agree she never said she was upset, right? Probably.
Maybe she might.
I don't.
But go
I
ahead.
asked her if she was upset, and she said no.
Okay.
You believe me?
Fuck. Yeah, go. I'll believe it.
Okay. So you're saying... she seemed upset.
Yeah.
You're saying... she asked me, do you want to do a stream talking about consent? I say yes. You're saying if we start doing a stream, and I tell a story, I tell the STD test story, and Stardust compares the girl in the story to herself and says, well, I think that's how it happened. I think she was like, well, maybe it was the other way around, but she was like, I tell men they have to wait to have sex with me or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You're saying if she's talking about her experience with this sexual negotiation, and I'm talking about mine, but I start to detect that talking about this is triggering for her, then I shouldn't explain my point of view anymore because it comes off as rapey.
No, I don't even care about rapey. It's more just like they're probably the one that's more adversely impacted by the interaction because the risk or the investment for them is very high and your investment is very low. So why push the interaction?
The conversation.
Yeah, why push it at all? Like for you, it's a matter of being kind of irritated that you're not getting laid, or maybe that somebody doesn't trust you as much as you think they should. And for them, it's a matter of like, this is a thing I do because if I don't, I feel like I might get raped. Like the investment is very high, the risk is very high on one end, and on the other end, it's kind of like,
okay.
So like, why push the interaction?
You're saying this translates to a psychological risk for even talking about it.
Well, no, but like the particular...
Because I wasn't trying to fuck Stardust. I'm just trying to talk to her about how we experience sexual negotiations. But you're saying if the way I'm talking about it is triggering to her, even if she won't say it, I should pull back from even having an intellectual conversation about it because it's too insensitive.
Yeah, if I think over that particular topic, yeah, I would.
Like...
Or if I would, and I would continue forward knowing that, like, this might turn into a huge shit show.
Okay, so, like, if you're talking about experiencing racism, and a black person is like, yeah, the cops, like, beat me and arrested me and then, like, lied about it and planted drugs in my car and I went to jail for 3 years, and then you're like, I'm white and I got called a Karen at the grocery store. You're saying it's just, like, at the point when the conversation is taking that turn, you're... it's no longer appropriate for you to take up that much space with it if it's going to be triggering to the other person.
Yeah, depending on how the conversation is going. Like, let's say I'm having a conversation like, I don't think microaggressions are that big, or I don't think racism is that big of a deal in this life. I think it's overblown. And then one guy is like, my dad was profiled and killed in front of me by a police officer when I was 8 years old. Okay. Now, I might say, okay, well, statistically speaking, how many fucking, like, unarmed fathers come in front of children? You're like a 1 in 100 million. Your case is actually statistically irrelevant. I don't know why the fuck you would even bring that up. Anecdote, Andy. I could say that,
right.
and I'd be logically within my right to say it. And even for the purposes of the conversation, it might be important to establish
that's what you said to the grandma on the abortion panel.
Sure.
Okay.
But in the heat of the moment... Well, but I don't care about that, Grandma. You said you do care about your friendship with Stardust, right?
Yes. No. I'm not saying you're a hypocrite. I'm just pointing out that.
Sure. I'm telling you that I will go that far sometimes. If I feel like it's really important, I'll go that far.
Yes,
but I know that like that might be the end of our friendship because that's just the position that I'm staking out, and I know this is going to be a big deal. Yeah. But I would go in it with that understanding basically, and I wouldn't be upset with the person. Like when I had that huge I don't even know if I'm like emotionally at the same level of maturity that I was then. I hope I got more mature. But like when I had a very, very, very uncomfortable conversation with Trihex about the N-word. That was the most popular thing on all of Reddit, where he's like almost crying to me, telling me that it's like really fucked up that I feel this way about like language and blah blah blah. And I'm telling him basically like, well, tough shit. I mean, that's how I feel. That was a very awkward conversation to have. But having that conversation, I understand like, okay, well, I might be losing him as a friend forever if I do this. But like, that's where I'm taking this out. But I wouldn't be surprised if like our friendship ended here. Because I know that the investment from them as a white person.
He altered.
Well, no, stop. I'm just saying that the investment for me as a white person is very low. Like at the end of the day, who cares about the N-word? I'm white. I don't care. It's not like, what do I care?
Did it cost you your friendship with him?
No, we're cool now.
Okay.
But that's the understanding that I had going into that circumstance. And I think that you should have that understanding. So if you do care about a friendship, right, then it's good to understand that you need to pull back. Otherwise, you can't act surprised when the person is like, oh, you know, I don't think I can handle this friendship anymore.
Well, she didn't say that. She just stopped talking to me.
Well, but that's obvious. That's what's going on.
Well, yeah, but let's see. Okay, do you concede that you're asking me to read her feelings in the conversation, set boundaries for her about what kind of conversation is appropriate or acceptable for her to have, and then read her feelings after the conversation? And even if I ask her how she's feeling or if she wants to talk about it, she says, no, I'm fine. I don't want nothing. Everything's fine. What are you talking about? I'm totally fine. Things are totally cool. If I sense that things are not cool, I should still act as though she said, no, I'm really fucked up about this and I can't handle this.
Yep.
Like
it's
you're asking
really
me to
cringe and it's really annoying. But yeah, I learned this when I was 30. It's people's words are just one part of the whole picture that they're selling you.
Yeah, totally.
And
yeah,
sometimes it comes to the point where
agree.
like you have to kind of just ignore what they're saying. Whatever they're saying, it doesn't matter.
I know exactly what you mean.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I want that. I don't want to do that. I definitely don't want to do it with Shaylin. We've established this, but I don't want to do it with friends.
Okay. That's fair. That's only you.
Does
can
this
make
feel
that.
gendered to you at all? Do you think you'd be saying the same thing? I know you're talking about Trihex in the same way. Do you think it's my job more because I'm a man to look out for her feelings?
I think that people have a lot of reasons for saying and doing the things that they say and do. And sometimes people feel like they need to lie to protect themselves. And when you can identify that somebody is in that state of mind, it's up to you to figure out how you want to proceed.
You know what my problem is?
What?
With everything you just said?
Yeah, go for it.
Women lying to protect themselves sexually is the thing I'm complaining about.
Okay.
So I'm telling a story about something that women... She's like, oh, you made a video essay about this topic. And I'm like, yeah, the video essay was called How to Say No to Sex.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm saying, just say no. You got to be honest about that you don't want to have sex. Say no. Don't argue. Don't make excuses. Don't lie. Don't change the subject. Just say you don't want to have sex.
Yeah.
And she was like, I really like this video. I really want to talk about it. So the context is we're talking about how much this horrible thing has affected me. Like, yes, it affects women and the risks are greater for them. I agree with everything you're saying. But my video is really about how it affects me. How it's affected me to not be able to say no to sex and be put in like weird situations that I should not have been put in or allow myself to be put in. And then B, how it feels to be trying to negotiate something with something so loaded with somebody who is lying to you.
Okay.
So I think given the context, for her to start doing it in the conversation, I'm like, the whole point of my video is I don't think men should mind read women to a certain extent. I don't think it should be assumed or relied on that men are going to mind read women and say no for them. Women have to say no on their own. And then Stardust wants to say no to the conversation and then can't. And she won't say it. So I think that's why I was like, well, just like, are you really? You're not upset? Like fine. And like with sex, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't have sex with somebody who is like, oh yeah, I want to have sex. It's fine. Go ahead. Like I agree with you there. But in terms for a conversation, like between two professionals and friends about the topic of how women need to say no, or people need to say no and set their own boundaries, I think I just couldn't do it.
Sure, which is fair.
Or didn't.
And I think you have like every right at some point to say like, okay, well, this is fucking annoying to me. I don't want to like be involved in this.
Okay, but you're also saying it's not appropriate, or that I just shouldn't have. I know you're saying it's a conditional, like, well, if you're okay with things falling apart, then you shouldn't do that. But I feel like there's a middle ground where, like, I really care about Stardust, and I really valued our friendship, but
but not really, more than this argument.
Right. It's not the argument. It's that I can see. I need to hold my boundaries in order to not be embroiled in a friendship that doesn't work for me. Like if I set
this has nothing to do
now,
with like holding boundaries. This had to do with this particular heated exchange.
No, it's gonna just keep happening.
Well, yeah, but like there's a million ways to end a friendship over something like this that doesn't involve like an ultra heated exchange, right? You could slowly ghost her and not respond to her as much, and then that's like a non-confrontational way to do it. You could just message her and say like, hey, like this is just like something that I just don't feel as comfortable with, right? There's a lot of ways, you could think of ways, I'm sure, to end a relationship that aren't as dramatic as on the live.
But it's not that I wanted to specifically end the relationship. It was like, I want to be in the relationship, but I want to be in it in a certain way. And the way I need to be in it is, if you don't want to talk about something, you have to tell me. You can't ask me to do a stream with you and then signal to me that you actually can't handle it and then expect me to caretake you. I don't want to adopt. I'm not trying to adopt people.
Yeah, that's fine. But like, I don't know if I argued with you about this or somebody else. Sometimes just saying something like that can be really manipulative or feel manipulative. Do you understand? Or do you want me to elaborate? Or I don't mean that sounded kind of more condescending, but do you want me to elaborate on that?
But you can elaborate if you want. Do you want me to elaborate on it?
Whatever you want to do.
To show that I understand?
If you want to.
You're saying that on one hand I'm setting a boundary from my perspective, but from her perspective it sounds like I'm saying you better have this conversation with me, or you better learn to say no right now, or I'm going to abandon you.
Exactly. Yeah, so you perfectly understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And then, so on your end, your feeling is like, I'm having a conversation about how nice it would be if people could set strict boundaries, and this motherfucker is trying to avoid the conversation by not setting a strict boundary. You came to me praising me, but I was giving you advice to do the very thing that you are now doing the antithesis of, and then getting upset at me for it. That's your perspective, which is fair, and I can understand why that's like, fuck, how fucking annoying, right? But then on the flip side, on the other person's side, they're like, I set certain boundaries to protect myself because I find that people push really hard. Now there's somebody that I am friends with and I respect, and now they're pushing me really hard in a conversation to acquiesce on something that I'm starting to feel uncomfortable about, and now I'm in the very position that I don't want to be in, where somebody's pushing really hard on me in a really intense way in a conversation about boundaries. And that's the feeling from their side. So, but I think that the risk for you is very low, because it's just a conversation about friendships and boundaries or whatever, but the risk for them is these are behaviors associated with like sexual pressure, which is usually way more high stakes or way more high risk, which is I think the feeling that they have with Stardust in this case.
I think caving is low risk each time you do it. But having been in relationships like the one that I imagine would develop with Stardust, were I to do what you're suggesting, I feel like you can waste your whole fucking life on reading people's feelings for them and taking care of them, and
yeah, but you don't have to do it.
Just just parenting.
Yeah, but like I said before,
Why-
you don't have to. You could just say like, you could message Lily and be like, hey, listen, like, I'm sorry, but like we have way different expectations. There's like a million less dramatic ways to exit that relationship, right?
Well, I wasn't trying to exit in the first stream. I wasn't trying to exit the relationship.
No, but at some point in the second stream, you had made the determination that we can't be close friends anymore, right? But like once that determination is made, it's probably like, okay, you just back off and then like lay because like they're super.
Okay, so you
emotionally
think it was
compromised.
harsh for me to angrily tell her why I don't want to?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Because keep in mind, like, again, this is why I criticize you on the empathy thing. On her perspective, her boundaries were too loose, and then she got either raped or sexually assaulted, and then she's like, fuck. So she tightened her boundaries up a lot, and now she's being attacked in a live stream saying your boundaries are too tight, and this is why it frustrates me. So it's like, fuck me. Holy shit.
I didn't say that. I didn't say they were too tight though. I just said I don't like it.
It's the same thing, right?
It's fucking. I mean, anybody who's ever dated somebody who's been raped or molested or abused knows that like you want to be supportive, but it's also pretty fucking annoying.
I don't want to be supportive to rape or abuse victims in personal relationships. I wouldn't date somebody that has that type of stuff going on that required constant support because I wouldn't be able to support. I'd get burned out, and then it would be really negative. So you're not obligated to. You don't have to.
I'm not saying you're obligated. I'm saying even if you choose to date somebody who has those kind of issues, you can empathize with them and at the same time be like, this is fucking terrible.
Sure.
I mean, it's like if you're
but
dating
you can also
somebody who
say there are
gets
people
cancer-
that like I've been with who have been like, this is too much for me to handle. It's like, oh, okay, this isn't gonna work, and then you just gonna like leave. But I wouldn't be like, you need to solve your depression right now, or I'm gonna stop talking to you because the burden is too high on me. Look at like
But I
that's
didn't
because
say
that's
that.
no that well kind of.
Okay. I asked her to talk about it on stream. The first conversation. She said she was fine. I DM'd her afterward. She said she was fine. Or she said she was upset but didn't, she just like didn't respond and then didn't want to talk about it.
Okay.
I DM'd her again later. Then she DM'd me changing the subject to something else and I was like, I feel like we should talk about this because this is weird. Then she came into the sex worker stream and like said something like passive aggressive to me on stream. Then we DM'd again. And then we like didn't talk for like a month and then I think I just was like asking her to talk about this every like 2 or 4 weeks. And then finally she was like, okay, let's talk about it, but I want Chud to be there. So we agreed that. It takes another month to actually do it. And then by the time we do it, I'm like, I feel like you ditched me. And she's like, stop whining.
Well, I don't think she said stop
You're
whining. I think she
did.
said that she didn't feel like.
literally said, no, she literally said stop whining.
Okay, it might have gotten to that point, but initially I think she was saying she didn't feel like she ditched you. She just kind of like was like had some distance from you, but she still supported you publicly. She wasn't like an anti-friend or anti-fan or like started to kind of hate her or anything. But she felt like she needed some space.
Yeah, that's fine, but you can't take space by just not talking to me.
You can take space.
And
by just not
for us to
talking.
be
Of course
friends.
you could. For you to be friends, maybe not. But
For us to be friends.
Sure.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was saying. So I don't think that's the same. I don't think that's the same. Again, you're I get what you're saying. You're saying that my boundary can feel like, if I'm saying I can't be friends with somebody who can't handle conflict in a relationship, you're saying that can come across as change your psychology right now or I'm leaving.
Or it's an invitation for a big argument. There's like, I think there's like one-to-one parallels we can draw in sexual situations, right? Like if I get to the point to where I'm on a second date with somebody, we're in bed, we're just kind of like hanging out, like sitting there, and I'm like, I really want to mess around, and she's like, I don't know if I'm comfortable yet, and I'm like, okay, well, I don't really think I can date you if you're not okay with like fucking right now.
I agree. I agree that that's
and you can argue that
mild
it's,
rape attempt.
Yeah, well, fuck, we don't even have to fuck the word rape. Who cares? We're both pro rape here, okay? Really? Do we really care? What I'm
I
saying.
think it's worth labeling.
Sure, okay, rapey, sure. But like the issue here is that like you can argue, well, all I'm doing is asserting a boundary. I'm just saying that like, you know, if she doesn't want to fuck me, I don't really want to.
Yeah, a lot of manipulation is also just asserting. You can frame it that way.
And it doesn't have to be intentional, but like that's all I'm saying is that like when somebody is already like, I'll say emotionally dysregulated, and then you're pushing on their boundaries heavily, and again, it's high risk for them and low risk for you. It's a bad, uncomfortable situation for them to be in, like super uncomfortable.
I guess it feels like you're telling me, you're coaching me to withdraw though. I'm saying.
No, what I'm saying is there's more appropriate ways or times to re-engage. So you could call it withdrawal, sure. There's times when it's probably appropriate to withdraw a bit because you can find a more appropriate time to engage.
At some point, I'm gonna have to be like, listen, you're like crossing a line for me. We're like, I can't really call you my friend if you're gonna treat me this way.
Yeah, but you do it when their emotional state is like not as intense, and they're not as in an intense moment, because that moment was very intense, and there's no reason for it to be, right? Like you don't. That didn't have to happen. That conversation, that resolution, that didn't have to happen right there. Didn't need to be done at that point. It could have been done later. There would have been no difference other than like saving her mental or emotional pain.
So what would I do to do it later? Just pretend to
just be like, oh, okay, well, you know, yeah, we can chat about it, I guess, later. Like, it's fine. We can drop the topic now, and then later on message her and be like, hey, like, yeah.
And just break up with her.
Basically. Because what do you lose by doing that? Because we can obviously see the huge gains to her, like, emotional well-being. What do you lose doing that? Other than maybe you have to fake being friends or...
I don't see it's huge gains to her emotional well-being. I don't get the difference. I mean,
How not?
I'm just pretending that I feel like we're friends when I feel like she just.
Wait, hold on. You don't see any huge gains to her emotional well-being if you quote-unquote break up later versus forcing the issue right there on stream.
Okay. A friendship ending on stream is bad for you. And it's better if it ends in private.
Well, no, I'm not even talking about the context at all. I'm just saying to analyze the emotional states. That if somebody is like highly emotional, that's probably not the time to introduce that subject or try to resolve that topic.
But that's what we were meeting to talk about.
You weren't meaning to talk about ending the friendship.
I think we both were airing out some pretty huge grievances with each other.
Yeah, that's
fine. Meeting to talk about.
But I don't think either of you were going into that with like, this might be the last time I ever talk to this person. I don't think that was on the table for either of you. That's my guess.
I don't want it to be the last time I ever talk to. I didn't say I'll never talk to you again. I just said like definitionally, I don't think we're friends if you stop speaking to me for months when you get mad at me and you won't even tell me that you're mad at me. How can it wasn't like I was saying at this point I no longer want to be your friend. It was more like me saying we're already not friends.
Yeah, I understand, but but obviously she didn't know that it was going to be that intense. I think this is unarguable. You kind of have to get this, right? I don't think she knew, because if she did know that, then why was the emotional reaction so strong?
Yes, no, she did not understand that I felt that way.
Yeah, that it was this extreme.
Well, I don't know, because she already knew that we weren't speaking, essentially. We weren't really speaking.
Yeah, but a lot of people, you said it yourself, a lot of people...
No, but she knew we weren't speaking for months in the face of an obvious big conflict that was happening that we weren't talking about. She knew that.
Okay, I disagree with you, but let's say that I grant this and then I move on to the next question. Then why was she so emotional? If she already knew this was like likely the direction things were heading.
I'm saying they didn't change. I don't think much changed in the conversation, except she was informed that this doesn't meet my definition of friendship.
Yeah, but that could be a big change, right? Like maybe I decide in my head right now. Maybe I decide in my head right now that like I don't like traveling and I don't like travelers. And that's the thing that I go around. And I go to have a serious conversation with Melina, and then through like halfway through the conversation, she realizes, wait, I think he's about to break up with me. And then she was like, "Are you breaking up with me?" And I'm like, "Yeah, like probably if this is the thing, right?" Now she's gonna become like.
Wait, that's different. I don't think that's a good comparison, because in mine I'm saying, it would be like if Melina just like disappeared and then stopped speaking to you entirely. You had no idea where she was, and then she comes back 6 months later and she's like, I think we should talk about our marriage. I want to talk about my feelings about why I did that. And then you're like, well, what marriage? Like I don't think of you as my wife anymore. Like you disappeared for I haven't heard from you or seen you in 6 months. and then she's like, "Oh my God, you're divorcing me." It's like, no, I'm not saying I'm saying that you left. You left the
Yeah,
friendship.
but the difference
I'm
is
just
that like
telling-
the expectation there is that like if you're a wife or some shit and you leave your partner for that long, of course it's gonna be. But friendship, there's probably like
Well,
slightly different expectations. Because you
they're
yourself said in
different,
that
but I'm-
conversation, you're like
wait,
some.
but
Go ahead.
my point is that we have different expectations. That Stardust thinks you can, if you're uncomfortable with somebody and they're your friend, you can just stop speaking to them for 3 months, essentially, and you'll still be friends.
Okay.
And I don't think that. To me, that's like, no, we're not friend. We can still be friendly, but like the amount of trust and closeness that I would call friendship, I can't have with you.
Yeah,
at
we're not
that
arguing
point.
about any
And-
of
but
this.
we already
none of this is relevant.
we already
Yeah,
don't have it.
None of this is relevant. I'm just saying that regardless of how you're justifying it now, it's obvious that she didn't think that going in. Or if she did, you need to explain to me why she was so emotional. Why was she so upset about it if she knew that this would like be a potential outcome going into it? Because I don't understand that then. I don't know why she would be so upset. Especially if she thought, if you thought the friendship was already over and you thought she thought the friendship was already over, right? It seems clear to me that she didn't think that.
She's upset to find out that I define where we're at as not being friends. I think she's upset to find out that I'm saying in order to be friends with me, you have to do something that you are not comfortable with doing and either don't want
but
to
it's
or
you're
don't
saying
know-
you're
don't know
restating
how
the
to
same
do.
thing. She didn't know the friendship was on the line at that point. And now that it is, it makes the conversation a lot more emotionally intense.
Yes, but it's not like I changed anything.
Well, what
It's
happened
not-
was
it's not-
you revealed an internal state of mind that she didn't know about. You didn't have to change anything. You just revealed something.
Yes, but it also doesn't like, if you break up with somebody, you're like, we have to stop doing what we've been doing.
Mhm.
You know, or things you have to move out. We can't see each other. We can't have sex anymore. But with Stardust, I was saying like, we're already broken up. We're already not friends.
Yeah,
This
but
is
she
what
might.
not
But
friends do.
it's different. She might not feel that way, right? Maybe for you,
I
that's
know,
not what friends
I know,
do.
but I know, but I'm saying you're making it sound like I ended a relationship, and I'm saying
But you
I
did.
just told her. I don't agree.
Okay, well, you're wrong.
I agree that is a framing of it, but I'm saying that's not from my perspective.
Yeah, but there's two perspectives. Okay, I've got a friend.
Yes,
I've got a
yes,
friend. Wait, real quick. I have a friend, Kyle. Okay, real life friend of mine. I don't think we've spoken in like 3 or 4 years. It's been a long time. But we like grew up together. He's been on stream a lot. Like we just haven't talked in a long time. Now I would hope maybe if I message him that he'd be like, holy shit, we haven't talked forever. Like let's chill, whatever. But if he were to message me tomorrow and he'd be like, hey, we haven't spoken in like 2 or 3 years. Like don't ever talk to me again. Like I'm not gonna do that. This is not my idea of friendship. If he sent me that, I'd be a little bit like upset. I'd be like, oh shit. Well, I'm sorry. I didn't even know that. My bad. Now he could say, well, it's always been like that in my mind. It's like, okay, sure, but I didn't know that. Damn, I thought we had like a different understanding of things. And
Yeah,
she might have
Billy
been the
said
same.
I believe he said I don't think of you as my friend anymore.
Yeah, I'd be like, oh well, fuck. And then he'd be within his right to say that, and maybe after year 1 or 2, he'd be like, fuck this guy, I'm done. And that's his right to say that. But I'd still be a little upset. I'd be like, oh shit, I didn't even know that. I didn't know that was how you viewed it. But
I don't think that's a good analogy, because you're leaving out the part where I fought for our friendship and where I told her what I needed. I mean, you can call it manipulation or threat, but I think it would be more like if Kyle DM'd you and was like, "What the fuck?" Like
well, but did
I've
you ever
reached
DM
out
her
to you a
before
few-
that conversation and say, if you don't reach out to me more, if we don't contact each other more, this friendship is over?
No,
So then how would she have known that?
I don't know, but can I finish my analogy?
Okay.
It would be like if Kyle DM'd you and said, "Dude, what?" or called you and was like, "Dude, what the fuck? We're like, this is not how friends treat each other. Where have you been?"
Sure.
I've,
But did you ever say that
think
to
when-
Stardust? No.
yeah, I did. I said you ditched me. What the?
You
What the
ditched me
fuck?
after, but
What-
you never
what?
DM'd her and said like, hey, we haven't talked as much. Like, what's going on?
I said it on stream. I
Yeah, but
said
by
you
then it
ditched
was
me.
already like too late, right? Things were already fucked at that point. Like, is there anything she could have said to like save the friendship at that point?
Yeah.
What? Grovel?
Fuck you.
me?
No. Yes.
No.
No. I'm not groveled. No.
Well, because it sounds like she would have needed to be like, oh my god, I'm sorry. Like, I didn't know this was you. I won't do this again.
No, I don't want her to apologize. No, I didn't want her to apologize.
Oh.
I hate apologies.
Gotcha. Based.
What could Stardust have said to save our friendship?
Yeah.
For a lot of my life, I've thought that people can... I have a different idea of friendship from you. I think if you're uncomfortable in a friendship, you can just leave and internally shut people out. I understand I did that. I understand I concealed my feelings from you. And I understand how this affected you. I understand that you got banned and you needed a friend and I wasn't there for you. I understand what you're saying. I want the friendship that you're describing.
Well, but she does. She apparently has a totally different style of managing friendships, right? And that wasn't acceptable.
Wait, I'm not... You're asking me what she could have said to save our friendship. Right?
Well, but this isn't about what she could have said. This is she would have needed to have a genuinely different opinion on friendships, right?
Yeah, we're not friends not because she said the wrong thing, but because we actually don't have compatible ideas about what friendship even is.
Yeah, okay. But then all I'm saying is
I didn't know that going into the conversation. I had no idea that she was just going to be like hostile and dismissive of me if I said like you ditched me and like I'm heartbroken.
Yeah, she probably
I had
didn't
no
know
idea that her response was going to be like go fuck yourself, stop whining.
She probably didn't know that either, that the difference was that big. I guess.
Right, but you're putting it on me to have known that or to conceal my emotions about it in the conversation. Again, it feels like you're saying Stardust is... It's okay for Stardust to get really emotional, lash out, call me a whiner for being hurt, and call me an asshole and tell me that I'm like an insensitive person. That's all fine, but it's not fine for me to be like, well, I'm coming to you vulnerable and hurt, and like if you're telling me to stop whining, then I don't see how we can be friends. I don't see how I can trust you after this.
Yeah, the reason why I'm putting it on you is going back to one thing before, because I think the stakes for the conversation are way higher for her. That's why I put it on you.
Why?
Because of the subject matter, that like the conversations are revolving around boundaries that she feels like she's kind of needed to create because of things related to like sexual assault and stuff, and the boundaries that, and then you're pushing in those boundaries because you're a little bit upset about how like the friendship is turning out.
But do you see how you're just making it the default that I have to take care of her because she's a woman?
You don't have to take care of her. You just have to disengage. It doesn't have to do with being a woman. It has to do with like who's got like whose boundaries are like more protective here, or who's more.
No, it is taking care of her. You want me to disengage and tell her in private for her sake?
Yeah, but it's not taking care of the woman. I mean, in this case, she is a woman.
You want me to do that because she's a woman?
No, I want you to do that because she's the one that has the riskier boundary. She's the one that's like in a more
as a woman.
You guys could be gender reversed and it would be the same thing. I don't know. The woman thing has nothing to do with it.
Wait, doesn't she have a riskier boundary because she's a woman? I don't understand.
No, because she's talking about these boundaries that she's created because of like sexual engagements where she's being pursued, and you're talking about boundaries that you've created because of sexual engagements where you're the pursuer. It's inherently like a different kind of dynamic. Like your boundaries are just like whatever keeps you happy and horny, and her boundaries are whatever keeps her from not getting raped. So
no, I don't think so. I think it's not just about that. It's about keeping myself out of this exact type of situation, which is traumatic for me. To be, my fucking marriage. Chasing my wife was such a big part of my 20s. Chasing her emotionally, pursuing her. It's not about just being happy and horny. It's a deep. I mean, you saw how upset I was. It's not. I like it. Like it just feels like you think her feelings are like more real than mine.
I think that it's a lot easier for you to step away in that moment than it is for her. I think she's the one being harmed more by the internet.
Because she doesn't know what she's feeling. Or what to do with those feelings.
It seems like she's feeling upset and she knows that. Or I could tell. You could probably tell.
I just don't. Why is she being harmed more than I am?
Because she's having like I think reasonably like a much more emotional response to the conversation at hand.
I don't think she. I think my emotional response was about the same.
Okay, she's having a more warranted emotional response because I think the subject matter for her is going to be boundaries that put her more at risk than the ones for you that just keep you from like unhealthy relationships, I guess.
Okay, so you believe me that it's the most upsetting stream I've ever done.
I guess so. Yeah.
Okay, and you believe me I was extremely upset, but you're saying it wasn't warranted as much as her being upset, and because my feelings weren't as warranted, I should have moved to protect her more.
Do you feel like it would have been impossible for you to disengage from them?
It would have been undesirable for me.
Sure, but that's. Do you think it would have been traumatic for you to disengage with them?
It was already traumatic.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it would have made it worse. Yeah, because it's just another woman, or I mean, it happens with men too sometimes, but specifically a woman who is telling me that they're gonna abandon me if I don't put their feelings ahead of mine, mind read them.
Well, the abandonment was already going to happen, right? Somebody's abandoning somebody because you guys are obviously fundamentally incompatible. If you need a level of support that she
Wait, you're changing the subject. I've lived through this like endless series of women who would say, I'm going to abandon you if you don't take care of me. I'm going to abandon you if you don't pursue me. I'm going to abandon you if you don't manage my boundaries for me. Of course it's traumatic. I mean, like I made the whole Real Doll review with Shaylin. That whole conversation is about this exact thing of like, if you're telling me that our relationship is going to fall apart, or this conversation is going to fall apart, if I'm not monitoring you and making sure you're okay for you, then you're telling me that we're not even a couple. Like, we're not equals. We don't have we have a parent-child relationship at that point. I would do that for my daughter or my son, but not for a friend or for a partner. That can't be my job. It's been my job or a parent. It's been my job my entire life. Monitoring other people's feelings, caretaking them, and pursuing them. I don't want to do it.
Yeah, that's all fair. But I'm just saying in that particular moment.
It's extremely traumatic for me. I think we both were sitting there traumatized thinking, Jesus Christ, it's happening again, for our own separate nightmares.
Okay.
But
then there's nothing else to really decide about that. Right? It's just one of those things. No way to escape those circumstances. I mean, that's essentially what you're telling me. Like, I mean, I would say that I believe you're having.
I feel like you don't believe me.
I can believe you. It's not really relevant.
You could believe me, but you don't.
I mean,
you can believe me.
I mean,
but you don't.
I can't know your mental state. If you're telling me that you feel this way,
try it, Stephen. Look me in the eye and say, "I don't believe you." See, try it. See how it feels.
I believe you. There's no reason for me not to believe you. But if this is the case, I mean, like, then you're just doomed to repeat these interactions over and over again.
Well, if you have a falling out with somebody early on because you realize they're expecting you to be their emotional watchdog and caretaker and monitor and regulator, that's bound to happen with some people. But if you stay in that relationship and you say, well, because you're upset, I'm gonna blah blah blah, or even if you just conduct yourself in a way that's like, well, if you're constantly prioritizing other people's feelings above yours, especially women, it will become much more of a nightmare in your life.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. But the question is, wait, why are we even talking about this?
Because I asked you what you thought, and you said that I didn't handle it well.
Oh.
Or you implied it.
Okay. Well, you know what I thought, but I think there's no point else in continuing the conversation because it sounds like you feel like you handled it in the best way that you could have. And that, like, you're okay with
I don't know.
No.
I feel very guilty and insecure about it.
Well, why? It sounds like you're telling me that you were super traumatized. And
part of me believes that it's my job to caretake women and broken people and figure out their feelings for them and set their boundaries for them and not be myself, not express outrage when somebody abandons me or is publicly humiliating me or whatever. to just not stand up for myself and never like inconvenience or hurt other people. There's part of me that believes that. So like so I am confused about it. I do. Part of me wants to be told that it's my fault, that I did it wrong, and that it was my job to make sure Stardust is okay, and even to just keep being friends with her and tell her we're friends, and just, you know, protect myself secretly in the future from interactions like that with her, but not to tell her, not to make a stand for myself, not to demand a level of friendship that I need. Part of me believes all that. So
what do you want me to help you with?
I don't know. I just want to know what you thought. That's all. You know what I think made it worse?
Her being a woman?
Yeah. No. Me getting banned for an anti-rape video. I think that made the whole thing a lot more awful. I don't know. It's all a nightmare.
That could, yeah.
Alright, so...
It's one of the reasons why
So
getting banned for transphobia irritates the fuck out of me, because I've been incredibly staunchly pro-trans before it was politically convenient to be so on Twitch, but so I can believe that.
Yeah. Alright. Well. We're done talking about this, right?
Sure. For situations like this that pop up in the future, what's within your power?
A lot. I have a lot of self-control. I could have done everything you're saying. It's not that I couldn't. I chose not to. That's why I feel so bad.
How do you figure in your mind, how do you determine whether it's appropriate for you to be emotionally aggressive or not?
I think about my role in the conversation. She kept saying I was playing the victim. And so then I'm like, yeah, like we're both airing out our grievances, so we're both playing the victim. So when it's time for me to complain about how I feel hurt by you, I will play the victim. And then I'm like, okay, so I'm gonna kind of be childish, and that's okay. So I'm gonna let myself, like get teary and express. I'm gonna say what I'm thinking. I'm gonna let loose and say what I would say, like if we were off stream. In a different situation with different people or a different role, then I'm like, okay, this isn't my role. Like I'm not demanding to be heard or taken care of or understood in this situation. And it sounds like you disagree that my role there was appropriate, given how she was feeling, or given
maybe it's different. Maybe I would say different things to her, I guess. When I am fixated on an event, I'm usually trying to think of what are the things within my power that I can change to effect a different outcome, right?
Yeah.
And if I'm having a debate with somebody who's getting upset because the conversation is revolving around boundaries they've created that are related to like sexual assault or something, my guess is going to be that there's probably not much they're going to be changing. Probably they put it away and there's not much I can do to intervene there.
Yeah. So then you feel like the conflict is not worth having because
You know, I feel like I
That's
have
not
more agency in that situation. I can do more.
oh, I see. So then you feel like you should step up.
Yeah.
I guess I just always feel like I have more agency. I feel like I can step up in situations where I really shouldn't, and I have.
Yeah, and I think there are times where it's appropriate to make bigger emotional asks, where you say like, "Hey, I'm always doing this. I'm not going to do this right now." But that probably needs to be with people that have a very high investment in you. So very close friendships, relationships, family relationships are where it's most appropriate to ask for that, right? And it sounds like your relationship with Stardust was already kind of rocky if you guys hadn't spoken for so long. So that's probably not the best situation to make that kind of an ask there.
But it's what I need.
Yeah, but probably not going to get it from her.
I guess not. Apparently not. You have a lot of self-control too, though. You can do the same thing, right? Just like compartmentalize and step up.
Yeah, generally. But I feel like it's been good to like reach out to people, right? I did that in my last big drama, to talk to people and share the burden or whatever the fuck people say to do, which feels good.
Yeah. Well, it'll just be one of those things that haunts me, I guess.
When you say it haunts you, it makes it feel like there's something that's unanalyzed or unseen, or do you feel like the situation?
Just that part of me thinks everything is my fault and my responsibility. And you're telling me that it kind of is. So.
That might not be
It's
fair. I might be somebody that errs on the side of taking too much responsibility for things. So maybe that's not the best. But I'm just saying, like, if I look at situations, because at the end of the day, the only person that can really, I'm the person that looks out for me the best and the most. And I'm the person that has the most control of the situations that I'm in. So if there's ever adverse situations that I'm involved in, I'm usually looking for, like, what are things that I can do to change those in the future? Because I don't think other people are going to look out for me as much as I'll look out for myself. And then if I do feel like I need help, which I don't because I'm an anime supervillain, but if I do feel like I need help, then the people that I'm going to lean on for help are going to be the people that I really trust, right? I'm not going to be messaging, like a random chatter and like demanding like a ton of emotional consolation from them. It's going to be like
Yeah. Yeah, I think you take responsibility too often.
Yeah,
but it's weird because it feels like if you know you have the ability to just like compartmentalize and just like do whatever the more responsible thing, then it's like you're making a choice to be emotional.
A little bit, yeah. But I mean, if you have the capability to, like, why not? You just have to make sure you're not, like, abusive towards yourself, because other people can take advantage of that, right?
Well, that's exactly why. I think I am abusive towards myself, and people do take advantage of it.
Yeah. But then it's important to find the people that you feel like you can share yourself with or take care of you, but that's going to be a challenge, right?
Yeah, but I think part